What is up, ladies and gentlemen, Manny here, welcome back to the channel! Man, recently I opened up YouTube and the algorithm, lo and behold, recommended me a PewDiePie video. That didn't happen in a long time, man. But the thumbnail featured a climbing wall, so I thought, you know what, I have to see what's going on there. Clicked on it, turns out Pewds is actually a boulderer since 1 year. Who would have thought about that? Checked out the video, he dropped a couple of interesting points about beginners in climbing, so I thought, you know what, I have to react to this, drop a little comments, maybe drop some beginner advice here and there. Could be interesting for more people. You know what? Let's check it out. Let's go!
Climbing! Whenever I talk about climbing to people that don't do it, it's like they just phase out and it's just not that interesting. Hey! Pay attention. Okay, listen. Video games. You're a gamer, right? There's climbing in video games. Nathan Drake, Kratos, Link, my Sims 4 character. They all are epic climbers. I always joke that bouldering is the most video game type of exercise. And the more I think about it, it actually is.
It actually is.
It's flashy colors.
I mean, I didn't know if you know, but I actually was quite a gamer also in my teens and also early 20s, especially World of Warcraft, of course, and then later on League of Legends. But then somehow this phased out, you know, getting interested into girls and doing some, you know, real stuff. But yeah, anyway, climbing in a sense is very much like video games in the sense that you can have projects, you can have boss enemies, you know, you have a crag, which is kind of a dungeon, you got the easy enemies, you know, and you work your way up to the boss enemy of that crag until you finally kill the boss enemy of that crag and kind of complete the dungeon, you know. It has the same style of achievements as video games. It's actually true, man.
It has RGBs. Gamers love RGB. Really gay butts. Sorry. What was I talking about?
Yeah, man, there's always some good humor there.
It's been a year since I started bouldering for the very first time, so I wanted to share my progress with you guys, because that's what I do on this.
You know what? He's got that climber look already. Look at him, man. He's got that climber look, chiseled jaw, chiseled neck, chiseled, you know, cheekbones and stuff like that. I could see right away when I checked it out that something is going on there. He's got that climber look already.
Channel now, progression videos. Yay! This all actually started from you guys. You are the culprits. That was a Reddit post that said, try bouldering. Japan is so ducking good at bouldering, and I wholeheartedly believe you'll be a natural at it. Who would have thought Reddit changed my life? Here I am a year later, and I love it. I mentioned this to my friend Connor, and he was like, yeah, we should go. There's a ton of great places. And immediately, I was sucked in, for the reasons I mentioned. Flashy colors, RGBs. It's just fun to climb. Everyone loves climbing, okay? But there was some...
Everyone loves climbing, man. That's somehow true. I don't know. Is it because we're coming from the great apes or whatever? I don't know. Somehow we have it instinctively in our bodies, I think, to some degree. One's more, one's less. But yeah, as kids especially, I don't know any kid that doesn't like to, you know, get on those holds, grab those flashy colory holds and stuff like that. It's true.
Some climbs that I couldn't do, so I know I wanted to come back again to really try them when I'm not as tired. And thus, I was sucked in forever because that cycle just rinse and repeat pretty much until now. So let's check out the epic progression. Here's me trying the actual lowest grade for the first time, V0, or Gold Q in Japanese rating. Pretty good. Back then, you had to wear masks at the gym, so that's a fun reminder for all of you. I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just climb it? How hard can it be? It's hard.
True.
It's hard.
True, man. How hard can it be, man? It's V0.
Like air, water, it's flying. Okay, warning. Jump scare in 3, 2... too late. Sorry.
Too many jogs, man. Too many jogs.
Disgusting. Basically, since I already work out, I felt like I could try stuff that was above my skill because I could just power through it. But my hands could not.
The thing is, you know, with the usual workouts that you do, almost none of it really hits the forearms, which is the only thing you really need for climbing. I mean, you can be weak as in the rest of your body. As long as you have the fingers, you know, as long as you have the forearms, you're gonna shine at freaking climbing. And it's actually better, arguably, to be weak in the rest of your body, because that means low muscle mass, you know, that means lightweight. Your fingers have to carry less weight, your toe tips have to carry less weight as well. And yeah, it's gonna help you actually, usually in performance.
Absolutely not. Moving on to March, I climbed my very first V0. Japan is kind of notorious for having grading things a bit more difficult.
That actually looks not so easy for V0. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, V0, it looks quite overhanging, and the holds are not super juggy, and the distances between the holds are also not super short. So it looks tough, man.
And this gym, at least, I think is no exception. But I was very proud that I was able to do it. And I remember when I got to the end, I was so scared. I know I'm barely off the ground, but okay. But I was scared. I'm 34. If I fall, I will hurt myself.
True, true, man. You know, he's a wise man. He already wised up to the fact that he's already beyond his physical peak when it comes to his life at 34. And yeah, we gotta be careful, man. I'm 33. I'm in the same, you know, boat, man. I can understand. We gotta be careful. Take care of your bodies, man.
I'm an old man. I realized once I was up there that I have to put my leg on that big round thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I didn't want to do it because I felt so scared I was going to fall. And you can really see it on my shaky-ass legs.
In German, we call this the Nähmaschine. The Nähmaschine.
Hell yeah, V0. Let's go. Moving on to April. This is goal Q, which is V2. Starting to move my body a bit more. When you start off, you tend to just be kind of static on the wall. So, I don't know. There's some progression there. It's fun for me.
I think you can totally see when you watch him climbing. You can see the beginner look. The beginner's look. What I always call this is that you're not very flexible. You know, you're very static, as he says, and you're kind of your legs are always straight down like this. There is no bent knees. You know, no bent ankles and stuff like that. Because the ankle mobility and the hip flexibility is still missing. And this would already be one first very, I think, effectful beginner advice for PewDiePie here in this case. Start stretching, man. If you start stretching, you're going to be much more precise with your feet. You're also going to be quicker with your feet, and you're going to be better at executing technique, like a drop knee, like a flag, all these kind of hip flexibility demanding techniques, high heel hooks, you know, stuff like that. It's going to be easier to do, and it's going to be more precise and quicker for you to do. It's going to make your climbing a lot more flowy, not as stiff as this is kind of looking, you know. And that way, it's going to make it more efficient, and you're going to tick harder grades quite soon.
I need to look back at these because at the time it was so difficult. I have to put my whole heart and soul into that climb, but now I feel like, yeah, I will do that so easily. I started to try and do more body weight exercises at home just because it's kind of...
Pull-ups on a jog. we already talked about that. In my opinion, if you can do more pull-ups on a jog, it's just gonna make you beefier, but it's not gonna really, especially with bouldering, it's not gonna give you that max strength that you need for some of these moves. At max, it's gonna give you a little bit more upper body endurance kind of thing, which is something that you might be able to use on some sport climbs where you do more moves back to back. But for hard bouldering, man, if you do stuff like that, you gotta do it on an edge, which means you gotta get a hangboard, right?
Fun to change out a bit as well. Here I'm doing weighted pull-ups. It's about
500 kilograms. That's already better, you know. Just 1 rep, 2 reps max, yeah, so that you stay in max power, you know, territory here. If you do more reps than this, it's just gonna pump you up. It's gonna make your muscles bigger and heavier, not necessarily that much stronger, in my opinion.
Kilos or something like that. I don't remember. It's pretty good. And in May, I was able to climb an even higher grade again. This was my very first Yonkyu, which is V2 or V3. One of the staff members were looking at me, and I got a little hooray after.
Hooray!
It's kind of shameful to admit just how happy it makes me when someone encourages you for a climb. Because in Japan, you probably heard it in animes, there's a word for encouragement, which is gambatte. So a lot of times people yell gamba for short to support each other when they're climbing. And I love how it's such a social sport. And whenever...
I don't know, man. It can be a very social sport, and at the same time, I think it also could be the most asocial sport that I ever encountered. I mean, you can go out there in the woods with a freaking crash pad and boulder like 3 hours, 5 hours, spend your day completely alone in the wild somewhere there, and be absolutely isolated from civilization. And on the other hand, you can go into bouldering gyms where there's tons of people, tons of gamba and stuff like that. Come on, da 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 da. Which can be very social, obviously, and then you can have a beer afterwards and stuff like that in these modern bouldering cafes that are popping out of the ground everywhere now. So yeah, it's really, you can make of it what you want, man. If you're a lone wolf, there's many lone wolves, man, in the sport of climbing. Arguably, I think more than in any other sport, I think, actually.
Whenever you get a gamba, you gotta try your hardest. And yeah, I was stuck on V2 for a very long time, but I was able to climb them more and more consistently. And
you can see still in his style. Let's look at that. He's still very stiff in the hips, you know. Here's some high stepping there.
That's what I was good at. I can rely less on technique and more just sheer strength. But this was my all-time favorite.
Body type wise, by the way, I have the feeling that Pewds got a pretty good climbing body just by looking at him at this like shitty video quality that I have to use here because my internet is so bad. It's I think 480p or something. But look at these proportions, man. These arms, head, legs. I don't know. These proportions they click something in my instinct. Like, I've seen many climbers along the years of my climbing career, and I have a kind of a good instinct of just by looking at them, discerning the good ones, quote unquote, genetically speaking, from the bad ones. And I have the feeling that Pewds got quite good genetics there going, actually.
Favorite moment for me in climbing. I didn't get it on video, this is just me climbing it. But basically, one of the staff members was trying to help me, but they weren't super good, so they couldn't really show me how to do it. There was an older person there with gray hair, and I love to see just like how many old people actually still climb and exercise. He was really strong, but...
That's because climbing is a very technique and experience-heavy sport. If you have more technique, more experience, more mileage under your belt, that can get you a long way. But don't be like... Don't have the pink glasses I wear on. Man, what was that for a reference? I don't know. But yeah, don't be fooled. Younger is obviously better, because usually when you're young, your finger strength divided by body weight ratio is at its peak by far. Actually, with kids, it's the biggest, but they don't have the reach to execute it. Yeah, if you're getting in your teens, your early 20s, when you get the reach, when you actually grow, and you're still having a quite high finger strength divided by body weight, that's when you can crush completely super hard grades. But still, you can't have the mileage and experience at that point. And that's why usually for most climbers, their hardest grades go down somewhere in their late 20s, early 30s. And from there on, it's mostly getting downhill. I mean, there is exceptions, obviously, but if you start very early, that's usually how it goes. If you obviously start very late, if you start in your freaking 40s, well, you're gonna have your peak at 48, 45, 49, 50 or something, but then it's going down. It depends on where you start, but if you start very early, your peak is probably gonna be somewhere in your late 20s, early 30s.
This is an overhang, so he didn't want to show it. So he grabbed a younger guy that was really good, and he was like, hey, show this guy how to do it. So he did, and I was like, oh, okay. It's basically this one here. I didn't understand how to grab it, because it's this way, but I'm hanging this way.
Side pull, it's called, man. Or undercling.
You flag your leg out, and no one cares. The point is, I just
No
said,
one cares
okay,
about
you showed
technique.
me, thank you, I really appreciate it, thinking they would leave. But they stuck around to see me actually try it, and I couldn't do it. So I was said, thank you, you can go now. I'm kind of awkward and introverted, so I felt kind of weird. But no, they stayed still. And the last chance, they all were cheering me on. I got all the gambatte, and then once I was able to do it, they were all cheering me on, applauding, and I don't know. It's such a small thing, but it just made
You can
me
really
so
see
happy.
how it's set.
It's
You know,
so nice. It
it's
feels
touching
a
him.
bit cringe saying this part out loud, but I don't know. I just wanted to kind of share why it's more than just climbing, I guess. Next month, I did this jumping one, and I couldn't do it. The ending was just so difficult. And I guess that's just part of bouldering, you know? You're not going to be able to do all of them. And it can be kind of embarrassing, or you feel stupid, like trying the same things over and over, and you can't do it. You get more tired. But that's just part of the game, you know?
Exactly. Love how he films, even
And
his
at
very
this point, I
early
was
days of
bouldering
climbing.
maybe once every week.
That's cool.
I wasn't super into it, to be honest, in the beginning, because I was more into surfing. But then...
Why is it always climbing and surfing? There's always something that I didn't understand. I mean, is that the hippie sports or something, or the sport of the freedom-seeking people, or whatever? It's always climbing and surfing. I've been to a surfing trip. I've been to a climbing trip. It's always the same people, kind of. Interesting. Ooh.
This guy just showed up.
Cute.
Huh? And I didn't really have time to go surfing anymore because it's just takes up too much time.
You see the difference here
And it's too difficult.
between the climber face and the baby face, sucked in cheeks with cheekbones and chin and everything, and then we've got the nice fatty round cheeks of the baby face. Well, man, that's amazing. Yeah, it's got a very healthy looking kid going on there, man. Congrats.
It's too difficult to schedule. The waves. It's okay, you're 10 million times more important. And maybe one day when you're older, we can go surfing together. Deal? Huh? Deal? Okay, cool. Back to mommy. So, inevitably, it made more sense for me to just kind of stick with bouldering instead, because it's indoors, I don't have to rely on the weather, and it just doesn't take up as much time. But what was also good was once the baby was out, I could climb with Marcia. And I was finally able to do this stupid one.
Duh.
That's genuine surprise. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I got that Marcia strain. Your girl is watching, you gotta perform, you know? But this is when I started taking it more seriously. I went to...
He's got a Beastmaker 2000 right away. Bold boy, man. Yeah, but that's the right choice, obviously. The 1000 is not really useful for beginners more anyway than the 2000 is. And yeah, I mean, hangboarding in the first year of bouldering, that's kind of, you know, getting onto sketchy terrain here. You gotta be careful about your fingers and stuff like that. But if you take it easy, no bonus weight and stuff like that, I mean, he's taking the big holes here, yeah, the juggy, super deep pockets up there. That's gonna be no problem, yeah. But on the smaller ones, yeah, be careful.
Twice a week instead. I got one of those finger boards, so I can actually start powering up my fingers. And yeah, they really work. I know you're supposed to be careful on them, because you can get injured. But I always felt, oh, look at that, beefy as hell. I always
Climber's body, man, look at that.
Really holding me back. Before I could hang for 10 seconds,
okay.
Now I could hold for 60 seconds, which I think is a pretty good improvement.
It's a good improvement in terms of time, but especially for bouldering, time is not really so much of a good, you know, it doesn't carry over into your performance as much as just max strength in terms of how many kilograms you can hang on your fingers. Finger strength divided by body weight, you know. But yeah, anyway, great improvement.
But yeah, took it more seriously, did finger training, started doing more bouldering kind of exercises at home. I was really getting into it. But I remember telling Marcia, like, everyone has a different strength in climbing, and I felt like overhangs was my strength for sure. But it makes you so that you just don't do the
You need to stretch, man. I mean, look at how your feet,
for sure.
Look at your feet there.
Everyone has a different strength in climbing, and I felt like
you could be so much more like sucking your, like, you know, your ass closer to that foothold there, flagging your right foot down there with more flexibility in your hips, that would be no problem. And I would make things like these, like mantling over an overhang, for example, or mantling out of an overhang, would make things like these much, much easier for you, yeah?
Overhangs was my strength for sure, but it makes you so that you just don't do the ones that aren't. And I was telling Martin, like, you should get something for climbing all of the ones in a gym, or like all of the same grade, because otherwise you just naturally don't do them, because no one wants to look dumb and fall.
That's actually, he's touching on a very, very interesting topic for advanced climbers here, which is that if you want to ever reach your genetic potential in terms of a grade, that means the hardest grade that you will ever climb in your life, you will have to start being selective towards problems that suit you, that suit your style, suit your body, because at your limit, whether something suits you or not makes a huge, huge difference. Yeah? And it's only possible to climb your highest grade if you know your body type, you know your strengths, as he says, and select problems accordingly. Yeah? As an advanced climber. As a beginner climber with V0, V2 and stuff like that, where usually there's even more than one beta through a problem, or maybe even three betas through a problem, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much to be selective towards what suits you or not, but already he, at his very early state in his progression, recognizes that there is obviously problems that suit you and problems that suit you not. And this is a huge, huge topic in climbing, also with competition climbing. How do you set problems for all competitors so that they are fair for all competitors? Yeah, it's basically impossible. And I think that that is why climbing had such a hard time getting into the Olympics, because everybody, and getting into professional sports, you know, because everybody was just thinking, I mean, hey, look at that. There is this guy, he's 180, and then there is this Japanese guy, he's 160. I mean, that's a world's difference for this dyno. For one, it's much easier. For one, it's much harder, obviously, yeah, even for a layman who doesn't really know anything about the sport. So that's why climbing has such a problem with becoming professional, becoming of an official sport, because, you can't really set competitions in a way that they are fair for everybody.
Oh, and as it turns out, a friend of mine told me in a gym, if you can climb all of the ones in a grade, you get, ready for this, a pin. I want that pin. So jumping ahead to
they're actually
February
pretty smart doing that, the climbing gym.
This is me trying to climb all the EQ, I think it's called, which is V5, V6.
But
there was 9 of them in total.
They don't seem to reset their boulders very often, though, if they have achievements like that.
This one was actually, for me, really hard, because you have to get your left foot up super high.
Yeah, because you're not flexible, man. You need to do stretching.
But once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad.
You need to do stretching, man. Check out my flexibility video.
I could not climb this one.
That looks hard.
And then you're just hanging off to this sloper thing.
If he had more flexibility in his right hips,
I just couldn't get a grip on it.
It also would be much easier. Yeah, he could load more weight on that right heel hook if he had more flexibility.
That happens a lot with bouldering, where even though it's the same grade, some just seem impossible. So I tried again and couldn't even do the start.
Again, the flexibility thing, man.
I just couldn't get a grip on it. I felt like if I let go of my left hand, I'm just gonna fall.
This is although it doesn't, it might not look like it at the first sight, but this is actually a very flexibility demanding problem. Obviously, you also need pinch power. It's slightly overhanging. These are slopey, shallow pinches. Kind of not so easy, yeah.
It makes it more texture, so the texture shows. This was it. I was gonna do it.
Shitty.
Needed more chalk. I actually don't use chalk. I just this is a little trade secret, but what you can use is G Fuel instead. Just get the G Fuel powder and you're good to go.
G Fuel powder. That's a secret, man.
Still can't do the start. I was getting closer, but I thought it would be a good time to move on and do the other ones. I remember seeing someone do this one, and I thought, oh, that will be so easy. And then you get up to it, and you're like, oh, shit. But as soon as you get your leg up, it's actually... It's not bad.
Yeah, man. Flexibility. All I see is lacking flexibility, man. All the time.
Gonna be able to do. I just kept undershooting. I have to grab that big red ball. But I got help with a friend of mine, and he was like, I think you can totally do it. And
He's
that
got a
kinda
good
gave me the
sense of humor,
confidence.
man, and good editing as always.
And it felt so good to stick it. This one was really fun.
Stick
A
that
little
ball.
scary because you're not really standing on anything in the end. At least it feels like it. And you have to hope that you can grab it. So one thing about me is that I am extremely tall. Okay, I'm not tall. I'm 170. I'm 180. I'm 180, which is kind of a normal height. But
I think what he wants to say is here that he's almost 180 or something, like 176, 7 or 8 or something, which is actually pretty freaking perfect, okay? Remember what I said in the beginning? That he's got a is triggering my instinct for good genetics for climbing, and he really does. If he has 178, 177, something along these lines, which is a little bit taller than I am. I'm 172, so that's really, yeah. I mean, in the normal world, this is dwarf mode, okay? In climbing, that's actually pretty good, considered pretty good usually. In my personal opinion, what would be freaking ideal is 176 or something in terms of height, long arms, something in the range of a +5 or +6 ape index, so that you got a little bit of over 180 in terms of wingspan. And then you want to have high shoulders, okay? You don't want to have like a half a meter of a long neck or something where all that reach that you have in your arms doesn't really get above you because your shoulders are so low, okay? So you want to have high shoulders, you want to have a short torso, long legs, okay? So that's the ideal climbing body, stick figure legs, okay? Like freaking toothpick legs, that's what you want. Long legs, short torso, high shoulders, wide arms, wingspan, and then you got a total height of 177 or something, a +5 ape index, and then you got 182 wingspan, and you're set to go, man. And your performance weight at this kind of body shape should be 60 kilograms or something, okay? So the pros that you see jumping around in the competitions and stuff like that, which are super lean, that's what they would have in terms of weight if they had that body shape, probably usually. And I know that's crazy low. It's probably not healthy. I'm not saying this is healthy or anything. Please don't quote me on that. It's probably very unhealthy actually in the long term at least. But that's what we're looking at here. This is freaking finger strength divided by body weight. That's pure performance here in terms of climbing, and that's just the way it is, man. I can't change it. But I gotta be honest here with you. That's just how it is. Okay, let's keep watching here.
in Japan, I am tall. Why do you think I moved there? But another thing
maybe I should move to Japan as well.
Long arms. I got long arms.
Congrats, man.
It's a thing where if you have longer arms than your own height, then you kind of have a little bit of an advantage.
You have a big advantage actually. And to mention that as well, long arms, short fingers, which is kind of, usually that doesn't really work. Either you have long arms and long fingers, or short arms and short fingers. But long arms, short fingers, because then you have less leverage in your fingers. You can crimp those small holes better. You can also get into the small tiny pockets better, usually if you have thinner fingers. So rather short, thin fingers. I think there I'm also quite good because I've naturally quite flimsy hands. But long arms, yeah, which is what I don't have personally. Unfortunately, I have a 0 ape index. But let's keep watching.
188 and a half.
Holy frick, man.
How you should have been. What happened?
I told you I have long arms. I told you.
That's a +10 ape index or something. Man, you're gifted.
Look at him, man.
That's
so a lot
crazy.
of times what I can do in bouldering is just stretch a lot, and that's all I have to do.
Yeah, at least in those Japanese dwarf gyms, okay? Come over to Europe, man.
You gotta use your strength, right? I think
Totally.
what I am the worst at in bouldering is this wall, the slab, which is tilted inwards.
Yeah, because you have a lot of high stepping, and then your flexibility is again limiting you. Man, you need to stretch your hips out.
Focus on balance. This one was ridiculously hard. It doesn't look like much, but this hold here, you can barely hold. It's nothing. I memed before, but that's nothing. That's like holding butter. You're supposed to grab that one and get your right foot up to where my hand is. And that's how you progress. And I saw even the person working there was struggling on this one. That's how hard it was. But me, remember me? long arms. I realized if I really, really stretched with every inch of my body, I can just reach for the next hole.
Nice. But it's interesting, I think, how early in his progression he realized that there is very morphologically dependent problems and that he has a certain morphology and that he has to use it, right? That's the thing with climbing, and that's why it's intrinsically unfair because of this morphology factor. I'm not saying that being taller is better or shorter is better, but problems will always tend to be a little easier for shorter or a little easier for taller people, and that's why you have to at some point select your problems. Yeah,
kind of reached it, like the very tip of my finger could reach it. I thought it was hopeless, like I wasn't gonna get the EQ V5 V6 pin that I wanted because of this one, but this kind of gave me some hope that it was possible.
He's kind of cheating there, man. You're pushing on with your elbow on that big yellow volume, dude. Be careful what you do there. The freaking ethics police is gonna come and get you.
I love it. It doesn't look like it, but I remember feeling my entire back just being like... I managed to grab it. And the end was terrifying.
Just because he wanted to avoid that high step because he doesn't have any flexibility, man. If you have flexibility and you can use your long reach, man, you're gonna crush, man. Stretch your hips out a little bit.
It's shaking.
Knee machine again.
But I managed to do it, and I started to feel like, oh shit, I could actually do it. I could get the V5, V6 ping. I want it. It's within my grasp. But of course, to do so, I have to climb this fucking white one. Still struggling. I still couldn't do it. So I took another break from it, just to clear up the last ones. This one was pretty easy. As I was saying, this one was pretty easy.
Yeah.
See, I don't even need the last two holds. Long arms. And then it cleared up the last overhang. These ones I would hate before because I just didn't have the finger strength, but now I feel like I almost have too much finger strength.
Man, full crimping in the gym, dude.
This is Ichidan, but I still couldn't really do it.
Gamba.
To be fair, this gym grades a lot softer than other gyms in Japan, which I like because big number sounds better. So this is technically a V7, V8, but it's more like a V, I don't know, V4, maybe V3 in Japan standard.
Nice. Japanese guys going insane. Pewds climbing at their gym, man. Over gripping holds, like skipping holds left, right, and center.
So now I was feeling way more confident, and I feel like, I gotta be able to do this fucking one. Tried it again, and this time, I don't know what I did differently. For some reason, my hand just felt like I got a grip on it. And I was able to grab
that was super close, man. Holy moly. His left heel hook. Dude, you need some flexibility. Oh, beautiful. Reaching for the top hold, man. Super long arms.
Oh, sometimes all you need is gamba. And that was it. I was able to get my
Congrats,
V5,
dude.
V6 pin, climbed all the ones in the gym, and it felt like a really good end to my first year of bouldering. So yeah, that was my first year of climbing. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for letting me share. If you're looking to pick up climbing, I really recommend it. It's a super fun exercise. I love that it's social. I love that people support each other. It's the kind of sport where I feel like a lot of beginners maybe are self-conscious because they're not, they're climbing lower grades. And
look at that, man. He's got the freaking climber's look already. Look at that. Chiseled, some forearms going on there, some fingers, everything beefed up a little bit. Some nice traps there as well, man. Look at the traps.
They feel silly or whatever. Everyone feels silly. It's not just you. And even if you're watching the best, like pros, or you're watching someone beginner, it doesn't really matter because it's always fun to watch someone overcome obstacles. It's just that in bouldering, seeing someone struggle with a grade.
But I guess that's true for any sport. Like it's fun to see one deadlift like 100 kilos. It's fun to see one deadlift 500 kilos. As long as it's their limit, they're gonna struggle and they are overcoming a challenge, right? It's the same with that in bouldering. It's the same with that in almost any sport, I guess.
And then being able to do it, no matter what difficulty, is always fun to watch that. Yeah, that's just what I like about the sport. I look forward to trying to improve more next year. And for anyone that commented that I should climb with Magnus Midtbø, you can delete that
Magnus Midtbø. I didn't even know that you have to say it like that.
He apologizes for being Norwegian. Interrupting today's sponsor.
Okay, and now comes a ad or something. Yeah, man, collab with me. I'm Austrian, then you don't have that problem. But anyway, yeah, really cool, interesting first year of bouldering for Pewds there. My recommendations would be, please, flexibility in your hips, man. It's going to make everything a lot easier for you, and it's going to make you, apply your reach and power on the wall a lot more. And if you want to train like on something like a hangboard or something, take it easy, especially with the bonus weight and stuff like that. Reps and time mean less than finger strength divided by body weight, unfortunately. So if you can get somewhat into a more, max strength regime, especially for bouldering, but then that is also, of course, more dangerous in terms of injury for fingers, then it's going to help you more on the wall. It's just carrying over more into performance of actual climbing. Okay, my friends, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, leave a comment. I would be glad to read what you have to say about that. I have actually a lot more reaction videos over on the Patreon. There I'm also reacting to more like, stuff that happens in the climbing world. So if you're interested in that, check that out. My friends, I'll see and hear you quite soon in the next one. Bye.